What is your current purpose right now? The one thing that you're striving towards at this point in your life that you want. Maybe it's fitness, maybe it's good grades so you can get into the college you want, maybe it's a relationship, or you want to start an online business. Visualize that part of your ideal future. Now, think about the constraint. The reason you started watching this is because there's this one bad habit, this one constraint that is holding you back from your potential. You aren't going to get to your goal if you have this thing holding you hostage. If you don't gain control of your impulses, you won't be able to control the outcome of your life. Now, understanding and acknowledging the role of willpower in our lives is important, but what exactly is willpower? How do you build it? The truth is that willpower is more of a skill. It's the ability to restrain your impulses, something that can be developed over time, like mastering a new language or learning how to play an instrument. You can't view willpower as a magic cure-all, as excessive reliance on it is going to lead to burnout and frustration when you inevitably do the bad habit again. You need to train willpower like a muscle, mixing it with other strategies that create lasting change. And by approaching it from a place of understanding, you're setting yourself up for making lasting changes in your life. So this video will go into detail about how to eliminate bad habits at the source and learn about the only secrets of willpower. I've also put together a page of journal prompts that you can use to follow along with this video if you want. I really think that it'll help you take action right away. It's just a link in the description, completely free. It's just a Notion template, and it's just journal prompts. So check it out. So I saw a video a while ago of someone saying that in order to train your willpower, you should put the addiction right in front of you and just stare at it. And this is possibly one of the most brainless things someone could say. This approach is pointless because, first off, it's unrealistic, and it's also skipping a lot of steps. We all know this is useless because of the famous marshmallow experiment. The marshmallow experiment was a study done on delayed gratification and self-control in children. In the experiment, a child was offered a choice between receiving one small reward immediately, like a marshmallow, or waiting a short period of time to get 2 marshmallows. In other words, a larger reward. 70% of the children failed the test, and they chose the instant gratification. Logically, it makes sense to wait for the second marshmallow, right? But most didn't. They weren't thinking about it logically and from the lens of their future self. In fact, they weren't thinking at all. It was impulse. It was the craving in their mind that told them to eat the marshmallow after seeing it in front of them. Now, imagine they did this experiment again, but they didn't put the marshmallow in front of the children. And then they told them, you can have one now, we'll bring it to you, or you can wait and get 2. I'd be willing to bet that 100% of the children would have waited for the second marshmallow, just because of the simple fact that they didn't have the marshmallow right in front of them, and they would have thought about it more logically. But the moment the marshmallow, the cue, was put in front of them, they folded. Now imagine how hard it would be for you to stop wasting time on your phone, for example, when you have all your notifications on, your colors on, all the apps are downloaded, and you sleep with it on your pillow. It's simply too easy to waste time. So you wake up to the alarm on the phone that is right next to you, you grab it, and then you waste 2 hours before even getting out of bed. Then you come on here and then you ask me how to get rid of your phone addiction. This is like having one foot in and one foot out. You want to do this thing, and you tell yourself that you want to change and that you're not the type of person to do this thing, or you are the type of person to do this thing, but you still have your foot outside the door. But this is what happens when you approach the problem from going from the outside in and only seeing it on the surface level. You're not fully committed to change because you're underestimating how addicted you are. You don't have a true understanding of the situation. And this is why you're still doing the bad habit. And this is not just phone addiction, this is everything. Approaching this problem from the inside out is how you gain an understanding. So take a look at this graphic, right? So this is you at the bottom, all right? And this is essentially the skill of willpower, right? It starts with awareness. You need to gain an awareness from the inside out. This is why we're going from the inside out instead of the outside in. You start with awareness, and then you create friction, and then you gain momentum, and then it becomes part of your identity, and then that is what makes up willpower. But you have to start from the bottom, start from awareness. If it helps you, you can screenshot that. So let's say that you have a problem with watching too much YouTube. Don't look at this from the outside in. Look at this from the perspective of thought and awareness. What is necessary to change a person is to change his awareness of himself. If you were on a coaching call with me and you had this problem, I would ask you this. What is the thought that you have right before you sit down to watch YouTube? Perhaps it's a thought of boredom. Your mind's solution to boredom right now is scrolling. Instant gratification. Dopamine. That's your back-end coding. And your back-end coding is your subconscious mind. And all your actions are dictated by the back-end code, and it's what you believe. Now, as opposed to viewing the problem as watching too much YouTube, the problem is now boredom. We aren't getting caught up in the outcome anymore. We're focusing on the cause of the outcome. Because we all know that focusing too much on the outcome is what causes us to feel stressed. And stress is what causes most people to indulge in their addictions in the first place. That would be you going from the outside in. I talked about how you need to form a certain identity in order to change a lot more in the video, Why You Can't Change. So the idea is to shift your perception of the situation. Think about the reason why this is a problem in your life and clearly define it. What do you do? When do you do it? Why do you do it when you do it? What do you do before and after? What were you thinking during all of these moments? The problem was watching too much YouTube. You do it when you're bored and have nothing else to do. Or you may be procrastinating, but I'll talk more about that in the future. So if the trigger is boredom, then we need to deconstruct why you were bored and why you default to doing this activity when you're bored. When we move up the scale of willpower, we get to friction now. So I want you to treat yourself like a drug addict, because you are. James Clear talked about this study that was done on Vietnam war soldiers. And when I went back and read this, it blew my mind. They found that 35% of service members in Vietnam had tried heroin and as many as 20% were addicted. I think this was somewhere around 71. But when the users returned home, only 5% of them relapsed within the first year and 12% within 3 years. 9 out of 10 users completely eliminated their addictions literally overnight. And that's a hard drug. Before this, it was believed that heroin addiction was a permanent condition. If you think about the environment they were in, it actually makes sense that there were so many users. The constant stress of the 19-year war, for the US at least, being far from home, surrounded by all the same people all the time who also do that thing and with easy access to it. Versus when they come home, a drastic change in environment, they have none of those things. Those things were the triggers. So again, before you take any action, you need to truly understand this desire and gamify its negative effects in your life. Why do you want to stop doing this? What kind of effect is it having on your mental or physical well-being? It's probably causing you some other problems in your life, right? You want to make yourself aware of that constantly. This will help you to think more logically and think from the lens of your future self. Does this thing align with my values and ideal future? The future must become present in the imagination of the one who would wisely and consciously create circumstances. When you are in a situation where you need to make a choice, think from the lens of your future self and think about your values. Staying conscious of what you want will help you filter out things that you don't want. It will become clear to you what you should do because you're thinking about it logically. If there was any secret to willpower, this is it. Re-listen to that last section if you didn't quite grasp what I was saying. Next, I want you to think about the benefits of avoiding that thing. What would life be like? As of 2021, the average teenager spends 8.5 hours a day using their phone. You should have seen my face when I first read that. Can you imagine what life would be like if you had an extra 5 to 6 hours a day? Imagine all the things that you can do. And I say 5 to 6 hours because it's unrealistic for anyone to spend like absolutely 0 hours on their phone. I don't do that. I use my phone. Imagine if you had that much extra time. How much money would you save if you stopped smoking? How much better would you feel if you stopped eating so much junk? How much energy would you have if you stopped undersleeping and oversleeping? So scrutinize this desire that you have and realize that it isn't what you want. It's not who you are. It's not what you want, but you're casting votes for that type of person every time you do it. This should make you upset. It makes me never want to waste time again. But there will be times when this bad habit gets the best of you and willpower isn't enough. Individuals with strong self-control actually aren't fundamentally different from anyone else. They are better at organizing their lives to minimize the need for intense willpower. So they effectively just reduce their exposure to situations that might tempt them. So the best way is to use that previous strategy to kind of build willpower and then eliminate it at its source. So to get rid of the trigger, we need to identify the environment that promotes this behavior and eliminate anything that may act as a visual, mental, or social cue. Then optimize this environment in a way that promotes more purposeful things. You'll be surprised how much our environment actually plays a role in the actions that we take. When you walk into a library, you automatically start to be as quiet as possible. Nobody tells you to be quiet or to whisper, but you do it without even thinking about it. You can set up your environment and life in a way that promotes good behavior in place of a bad one, even if it's the exact same spot as before. I have personally found that the best way to eliminate triggers is to make it as hard as possible to do it in every way, more than you think you need. The environment that I spend most of my time in, my room, is optimized to eliminate distractions and promote productivity. My room barely has any decorations. I make my bed right when I wake up so I don't want to get back making sure my bed was made. My PlayStation is wrapped up, unplugged, and out of sight, and it has been for a year. Literally a year. My TV remote is kept out of sight as well. I also don't have any subscriptions like Netflix or Hulu because I don't watch TV like at all. I sleep with my phone all the way across the room so I don't wake up and immediately grab it. Well, I kind of do. I purposely put my alarm on my phone and put it across the room. That way I have to get up and get out of bed to turn it off. So you may be thinking, what if you just grab your phone and then you start using that right away? Well, I haven't even gotten into what I do to eliminate digital distractions. My phone is on black and white all the time, unless I'm recording. I haven't had any social media apps on my phone for literally a year now, which is crazy. I didn't realize that until like this video, but I did just recently re-download them like a week ago. Haven't had any problems. I have no games. I have notifications turned off on almost every single app, do not disturb on all the time, and screen limit settings that shut everything down at 7 p.m. and don't turn back on till 5 in the morning. On my computer, I put on black and white when I'm trying to do like very focused work. And I also have this Chrome extension called Unhooked to help me when I'm doing any kind of YouTube research, so that way I don't get distracted by recommended videos. I promote good behavior by having sticky note reminders on my desk telling me to live life on purpose and how I deserve the consequences of my actions. And I also have a bunch of books that are readily available all of the time. A lot of this stuff may seem kind of extreme, and I guess that makes me an extreme person, but I cannot begin to explain to you guys the amount of mental clarity and drive that you get when you have this much control of your psychic energy. Your attention is your most valuable resource, and I'm trying to use it as wisely as I can. I'm living life on purpose, and I like it that way. Do things that help you live purposefully, and stop doing things that don't. I know I target social media a lot, and I'm trying not to do that as much, because this is not limited to that. Anything can be a distraction. Use my advice and apply it wherever it's relevant. Don't feel like you need to go without social media for a year just because I did. If that's your problem, then go for it. So, like I said before, willpower is a skill, alright? It's the skill of restraining your impulses. Moving up the skill of willpower, we have momentum, all right? In Ali Abdaal's new book, Feel Good Productivity, he mentions this term created by Albert Bandura called enactive mastery, and I think it sounds awesome. It simply boils down to the process of learning through doing. The more we do something, the greater our sense of control. The more we learn, the more our skill grows, in turn boosting our skills and our confidence. So to relate this to willpower, we could think of enactive mastery as repetition and momentum. Both demand long-term thinking. Self-control is a short-term strategy, not a long-term one. But repetition and momentum is what gives you power. Gaining momentum and maintaining awareness and tracking something makes breaking the streak more painful. The human mind is built to preserve its habits. Once abstaining from a certain action becomes part of your identity through enactive mastery, you will strive to maintain it. Consider someone who takes pride in never having smoked or drank, right? We all know that one person that is like, I've never drank before, never smoked before, and they pride themselves in that fact. Even if it may seem egotistical, those who openly embrace this trait are unlikely to break it. They fight to maintain that identity because it gives them a sense of self. When you start resisting a bad habit, acknowledge your victories and remind yourself of them. Mention it in your brain dump journal at the end of the night that you should be doing. Celebrate your success. Over time, you will accumulate these wins and it will become part of your character to abstain from that action. Acknowledge the benefits from not engaging in this behavior. This is how you rewrite the back-end code. Approach this problem with the open-mindedness and the humility of a beginner, just like any other endeavor in life. You might believe that adopting a fake it till you make it mentality could be beneficial, but it might actually be more harmful than helpful. Embracing humility allows you to start with a clean slate, and it enables you to be more comfortable when making mistakes. Mistakes are only detrimental if you don't learn from them. By letting go of the need for perfection or abstinence for a certain number of days, like that dude that's on day 0 of nofap and keeps beating himself up, you relieve yourself from undue stress. Replace it with the openness and humility that's essential for change. This will only increase your willpower. Don't misunderstand and think that it's acceptable to continue doing bad habits. Understand that they're still bad for you, and don't treat them like a reward for abstaining for a while. That's the same mindset that got you into the situation in the first place. Your goal is to overcome these habits, not to give in to them. It's easy to fall into the trap of rewarding yourself with the very thing you're trying to avoid, and this would only serve to perpetuate the cycle of addiction. Stay purposeful and focus on your long-term goals rather than seeking immediate gratification. After all, it's the short-term thinking that got you into this situation again in the first place. That is all for now. Thank you for watching. Be sure to check out 14 Days to Purpose to build a journaling habit, gain clarity for the future, and live life on purpose with questions you've never asked yourself. Have a great rest of your day, and see ya.